G'day, my name's Kyle from Farmers Warehouse at Singleton. We're here in Denman in the Hunter Valley today in a Lucerne stand on the Hunter River. 2-year-old Lucerne stand, kicking away in spring, so shouldn't be far off giving this a cut. So I've been the local agronomist here in the Singleton and the Hunter Valley area with Farmers Warehouse for the last 10 years. Been working with Delara Pastoral up here in the paddock we're in for the last 4 years in their operation, with a major part of it being on irrigated lucerne for high quality hay. I guess being a fairly intensive crop, lucerne, we try and look after it from start to finish, try and get the most out of it. It's a high value crop, it's one of the highest value forage crops we can grow. So I guess we do put an emphasis on giving it everything it needs from the start. So a lot of the cases here we'll obviously soil test and figure out where we're deficient and target key nutrients. We do have some structural issues here, which is pretty generic throughout the whole alluvial flats along the Hunter River. So we do find ourselves using soil amendment products like Cowless and gypsum to improve, I guess, soil structure and improve nutrient availability and I guess the effectiveness of our other fertilisers. So this ground here is been in production for 2 years. It was sown with, would have been sown with single super as well as pre-treated with 500 kilos of Cowless per hectare. We're finding that 500 kilos of Cowless is I guess the sweet spot for production and where we're finding it working. We are coming back through in the second year with a top dressing of Cowless as well at half rate at 250 kilos and just finding that's topping up a little bit of calcium and trace element side of things. But I guess our in-crop management is based upon total yield and what we're removing. So we focus upon nutrient removal, obviously potassium being one of those major factors when you're doing any kind of fodder production. So we are delivering potassium back through the system with different blends or compound fertilisers that we're using. A major reason why we use Cowless at sowing is increasing our plant populations and germination and establishment results. We're seeing that we're getting better plant populations per square metre coming through from that ground softening and stopping the ground from crusting. So we're getting better emergence and therefore we've got a better plant population in the end, and I guess lucerne's all about persistence. So the lifespan of your stand is dictated by your plant population per square metre. So if we can get that right from the start, we're seeing extended stand life. Natramin that we apply is usually applied pre-plant, broadcast on. Just with normal spinner spreader applications. We have done some work with direct drilling as well at lower rates, just for targeting increased responses as well. But majority of our work has all been spinner spread and obviously pre-sowing or again as a top dress down the track in a lucerne stand. Definitely seeing better water infiltration without that crusting occurring. So we're definitely getting better water utilisation out of what we're putting on. You're going back into paddocks that have normally had issues with I guess that crusting and atypical of high magnesium, high sodium soils, and we're finding the friability, especially when we're coming out of obviously a break crop with oats or sorghum or something like that, and we're working it up for lucerne. It's notable farmers that are using the Cowless pre-lucerne are going, well, geez, our ground is working up so much easier, it's so much more friable, it's breaking down quicker, they're not getting the clods that they would normally get. So yeah, there's that feedback coming back that in the paddock, you're in that extra gear up in the tractor or things like that, you're getting that feedback from the grower, which is good to hear. Having a correct program and using a break crop for disease management and weed management is essential. Unfortunately, as a lucerne grower myself, I understand that the pain of not having a lucerne crop in it. It is the highest production, and return per acre compared to a cereal crop or something like that. So it is very important, but to give that ground a chance to rest and get on top of your disease, especially root diseases when we're in in high irrigation areas, we're increasing our issues there because our ground is so wet consistently. So, it's important to go in with a cereal or a brassica or whatever that break crop may be to tackle those disease issues, and trying to get around that 2 years break, as a minimum is good. So going through, some phases there, or even putting it into a fallow situation is definitely beneficial to break that cycle. I've got my own Lucerne operation in Singleton on the Hunter River, irrigated the whole property, and so I grow a fair few different varieties and different management practices throughout there, and at all times about 60% of the property is under Lucerne, the other 30% is under pasture or that I guess a break crop, being a cereal through that period. So I try a lot of different things, and I tend not to recommend something until I've seen it in production myself and used myself, or with one of my clients that is focused upon doing it properly. So it's something that I find gives me credibility with doing and trying different things myself and seeing that it works. We're targeting around that top end yields of 20 tonne per hectare per year. That's where we're aiming for. You would work on industry averages probably around that 10 tonne, but our top end irrigation guys that are running a full fertiliser program and really switched on with, I guess, insect management and delivering the right nutrients, are up around that 20 odd tonne of dry matter per hectare. Big part of what I do as well is working with local land services and also all our service providers, seed and fertiliser companies that provide products to customers, and we have a demonstration site at Singleton that we run around 4 field days a year, explaining different parts of production and specifically mainly around pasture and fodder production. That's our major area we focus upon here in the Hunter Valley. I guess sometimes the question's asked or posed that Lucerne is producing its own nitrogen, being a legume, and fixing that nitrogen into the soil, and people do tend to say Lucerne doesn't need nitrogen. I would strongly disagree with that. We're seeing a response from applying nitrogen, whether it be as urea or sulphate of ammonia or ammonium nitrate compounds with Yarra. We're seeing a response. We're not looking at huge numbers of N, definitely never pushing past 40 kilos of N per hectare, normally around that 20 kilos per cut. But when you're taking off huge amounts of yield, the plant physically doesn't have the capability to produce the amount of N that you are removing. So it's inevitable. Yes, it makes enough nitrogen for it to survive and obviously do better than a grass would without fertiliser, but it doesn't produce enough for it to be total production, total high-end yield if that's what you're pushing for. So we are utilising N through our blends and compounds that we use. If I'm walking into a new Lucerne paddock and trying to get it kicking away, your key factors are insect management, weed management, and your nutrition. So trying to get those factors right, and at the end of the day we want to be producing clean hay for the marketplace that you're targeting. Usually that horse industry market is where the money is, I guess, in small squares. That's kind of the key factor that we're targeting. So you want to get those three key principles right, and go from there. They'll be the building blocks for having a quality stand.